Katmai is famous for the jumping salmon and the bears perched at Brooks Falls to catch them. You can't just drive up to it in this remote region of Alaska. Visiting Katmai takes planning. Here are 10 things to know before you go to Katmai. Do your research on the best time to come and watch the bears if that's what you want to do. The salmon run starts really in late June, and until the salmon comes, the bears don't come. So the best time is from late June to through the month of July. But in August, the salmon run dies off because a lot of them already made it upstream to go spawn. And so in August, especially the latter part of August, there aren't that many salmon, not that many bears. But in September, another species of salmon starts their run and the bears come back. So September is also a good time to visit. Plan ahead. Plan a long time ahead. If you ever want to stay here overnight, there is actually a lottery system for the lodge, which has very limited space of 54 beds. And in order to stay here during the peak bear viewing season, you have to enter a lottery. We entered the lottery 18 months before we came here, and we were lucky enough to get the lottery to be able to stay overnight here at the lodge. Plan well ahead of time. Katmai is an expensive park to visit. There is a cost of getting to Alaska, the cost of getting to Brooks Camp, and the cost of staying at Brooks Camp. The cost for a 2-night stay at Brooks Lodge for 2 people, including float plane transportation from Anchorage and the Land of 10,000 Smokes bus tour, was $3,400 in 2019. While you can stay for cheaper by camping, it's still expensive to get there. If you want less crowds when you watch the bears, the best thing to do is actually stay here overnight. You can stay at Brooks Lodge, which is hard to get reservation. You got to plan well ahead of time. Or you can stay at the campground, which is run by the National Park Service. In order to avoid the crowds, you really should go to the Brooks Falls early in the day before the day trippers get here, or late in the day after the day trippers leave. There are many people that come from King Salmon for the day on the float plane, and they get here probably around 9-10 o'clock in the morning, and they usually leave by about 4 or 5. And so if you get to the Brooks Falls viewing platform before 9 o'clock or after 5 or 6, usually the crowd is not that bad. You should plan to make multiple visits to Brooks Falls because each time will be different. This is nature after all, and bears don't show up as scheduled, and salmon jumping can vary dramatically at different times. The lighting is better in the afternoon than in the morning. We went 3 times during our stay, and each time was very different. During the peak times, they restrict the number of people on the viewing platform, and they restrict your time on the platform to 1 hour. There are no roads that will lead to Katmai. You have to get here via a float plane, and the float plane ride by itself is really kind of an adventure for people who don't do this very often, but that's really the main transportation system to the remote parts of Alaska here. Most people go from Anchorage to King Salmon on a plane like this, and here you see the inside of the plane, which is not too small, it's not halfway bad. And here you see the outside of the terminal at King Salmon, a pretty small terminal. And here you see the inside of the terminal at King Salmon. You take a little shuttle like this from the King Salmon Airport to the float plane docks.
We are off to Katmai National Park on a little floater plane. You look, there's only 5 of us on board.
When you first get here, pay attention to the ranger orientation for bear safety. They give you lots of good information, and you will use it because you will encounter bear here in a lot of different places. So you just got to know what to do. You do see lots of bears on the path, in the trails, down by the beach, everywhere. you have to keep at least 50 yards away from the bear, and the bear starts coming towards you, you just back away. The number one rule when you encounter a bear is don't run, because by running you can trigger a predatory instinct that they may chase after you. Don't expect internet or cell service at Brooks Camp or anywhere in Katmai. This is a great excuse to simply unplug. Sometimes on the path from Brooks Camp to Brooks Falls, you will see bear jam. What is a bear jam? Well, that's when bears are on the path, and you basically have to stop, keep your distance, and wait for the bear to pass. Yesterday, for example, there were a couple of bear jams that lasted like an hour because the bears decided to take a nap in the middle of the trail. And when that happens, nobody can go in either direction, so people had to wait. We took the bus tour to the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, and the hike got us close to the ash remains. While we didn't do it, I think a flight seeing tour that flies over the valley and the crater would have been even more dramatic. Well, maybe next time. There you have it, the 10 things to know before you go to Katmai. I hope you enjoyed it. It is a wonderful, wonderful place, and it's mesmerizing to watch the bears. I hope these tips are useful to you, and if you have other tips, please leave it in the comment section below. We are on our way to visit all the national parks in the United States. Hit that subscribe button to follow along, and hit that notification key so that you know when the new video comes out. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and share the video with everybody that you know.